Margaret Atwood, the author of The Handmaid's Tale, shows in her work a dystopian society, created after the destruction of the United States. In this society, the main characters are the handmaids, offered in particular. They are victims of the patriarchy and the oppressive regime of Gilead. The author based herself on the existence of historic events dealing with similar themes like the ones in the novel.
The first historical event that relates to A Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood are the New Jersey Handmaidens. This was a Christian group originated in 1975 in New Jersey, and the group was called the People of Hope. They called women the handmaidens of God, and women were supposed to be submissive to men since they were the important ones. In both the book and in the event, women made sure they followed the rules so they wouldn't get into any trouble. Even though this was a strange group, they are still active today.
When Kevin and Dorothy Franken joined a group called the People of Hope, they were searching for a way to become better Catholics. Today, they still consider themselves good Catholics, but claim the group that joined years ago nearly destroyed their lives. When they pray these days, they pray for those left behind.
The system is evil. What they're doing is a type of mind control, coercion, and manipulation. And they're holding people in by fear and guilt.
I think they're closing off. If anything, to me, that's scarier in terms of cult-like behavior and mind.
2-6 on this one block in Warren Township. Those who've left the People of Hope say they control the individual members through a network of so-called pastoral leaders, advisors who actually get involved in the most intimate details of individuals' lives.
They even got into the bedroom. I was questioned a few years back why I only had 2 children. And that wasn't by our choice. It's just the way it's worked out. And I was asked directly when I was going to have another one, and was I doing anything artificially not to have children.
They interpret what they believe God wants you to do.
There is a clear relationship between the New Jersey Handmaidens and The Handmaid's Tale because in both of them, people is living under a really oppressive rule, which is enforced by the modification of religious beliefs. Also, in none of them, abortion is allowed or any other contraceptive method.
For the second one, we have Decree 770. This decree took place in Romania, and it was an approved law that passed in 1967. It basically stated that abortion was illegal, as well as every single form of contraception. The reason being was because this was essential for the future of the country, which meant that their birth rate was very low. Women would have to attend the doctor monthly to check if they were pregnant, and during this visit to the doctor, there would be officers around to make sure the doctor wouldn't lie for them. Finally, this law came to an end in 1980.
In Decree 770, as well as in The Handmaid's Tale, fertility and the ability to procreate is extremely valuable. That's why abortion and any kind of contraceptive method is completely prohibited, and the state is going to make sure that the birth rate increases. So this is why all the breeding methods are applied.
Another related historical event are the slaves, and not the slaves meaning that they belong to someone, but more of their names, because slaves' names were changed when they arrived in America because they sounded too foreign and their masters wouldn't find it easy to pronounce. So in the case of the book, the names are changed to suit their masters, and if the handmaidens were moved from the house, their names would change again according to what the commander wanted. It was to suit their master, which in this case was the commander, and they could never keep the real names. The fourth historical event are the extermination camps, which the event as a whole was better known as the Holocaust. This is because there was a dress code, and in A Handmaid's Tale, the handmaidens are forced to follow a certain dress code which identifies their position in society. Now, this is related to what the extermination camps did because in these camps, prisoners had a uniform with different patches depending on their race and to identify their status. Some examples of these patches included triangles, the Star of David, and more stripes, depending on their race and, as I said before, on their status. besides from them not having their real name because they were identified with a number. The fifth historical event are the Puritan women in the 1600s. Women were forced to wear long, loose dresses because they were modest and they were a way to show respect to the rest of society. They also had to completely cover their hair and head every single day with head coverings, such as they do in A Handmaid's Tale, which also includes the color, because it is a red color, but it's not a very provocative color. So this was with the purpose of having a modest color, and if it was possible, to have a dark one. This tradition is still carried on by the Amish.
In the novel, the handmaids are also forced to wear a very modest type of clothing, which consists of a large red skirt, red gloves, and red shoes. Also, some wings that are supposed to be on her head all the time in order for her not to be seen by others and for the handmaid not to see other people. This type of clothing also encourages the oppressive regime of Gilead. Another event is the Lebensborn. This occurred as Nazi Germany desired to promote the superior Aryan race, which included those with pure German blood, white skin, blonde hair, and blue eyes. Nazis developed a program based on eugenics, which is the study of how to arrange reproduction within a human population to increase the occurrence of a desirable trait or characteristic. The program was known as the Lebensborn. It was initiated by Heinrich Himmler and consisted of selecting racially pure women that would procreate with SS officers so they became pregnant. They had to accept that the children wouldn't be theirs, but they would be property of the state. They were able to choose the officer to procreate, and they were offered recreation activities like sports, a cinema, a music room, a library, and they were given quality food. They also had false names in order to promote anonymity. There was a get-to-know-you session with the officers, and no pain alleviation was allowed. They were able to stay with the babies for only 2 weeks before giving them away. Abortion was legalized by the Nazis for disabled children, but punished otherwise. Around 20,000 babies were bred by the Nazi Germany between 1933 and 1945. The Lebensborn can be related with the Handmaid's Tale, as the most valuable thing in Gilead is fertility, making the only purpose of a handmaid to procreate. However, they are really oppressed and need to give away their children to a wife. In Gilead, abortion is not allowed. Public executions can also be related with the novel. During the Middle Ages, also known as the medieval period, public torture and execution was common throughout the United Kingdom and regarded as a socially accepted form of punishment. Different levels of pain and types of executions were inflicted on prisoners depending upon the nature and severity of their crimes. Despite the cruelty of these acts, executions were often public and attended by large crowds, and they included practices such as beheading people with an axe or a guillotine, hangings, burning people alive, boiling people alive, or being crucified. Public executions can appear in the novel in 3 main parts. The first one is the wall. Here, people that commit a crime according to the laws of Gilead were hanged, and some of the crimes they were hanged for were practicing an abortion or being homosexual, and they were displayed publicly so people understand that what they have done was wrong, and so it didn't repeat again. Some handmaids were also hanged in front of a very large crowd in the novel in order to show people that they should stick to the regime and never commit a crime. In another part of the novel, the handmaids were able to participate in a public execution when they had to beat up a man that was accused of raping a pregnant handmaid. The last event that can be related with the novel is the Underground Railroad. It was a network of people that offered shelter and aid slaves from the southern United States from the 18th century until the Civil War. The Quaker abolitionists were the first ones who organized the clandestine escapes, and T. Hopper started setting up a network for the slaves. The Quakers in North Carolina also established routes and shelters for escapes, and most of the slaves held by the Underground Railroad escaped from border states such as Kentucky, Virginia, and Maryland. The slaves went to Canada because they would be able to have freedom there. In The Handmaid's Tale, something similar can be seen, which is the Underground Railroad. It was created by a secret resistance that helped people escape Gilead. It created a route of safe houses for the fugitives, and in the novel, Moira was able to escape thanks to the underground female road. The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood is one of the main literary works in which we can see a very clear relationship between a variety of historical events and the novel itself, allowing us to understand the purpose that Margaret Atwood had with her book. We are able to see that events like this have already happened in history and that we need to change our way of acting and our habits in order to not end in an oppressive society like Gilead.